Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of William Brock? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. This case takes place in 2024 in South Charleston, Ohio, which is 42 miles west of Columbus. Two people are primarily involved. 81-year-old William Brock, who lived in a house in the 7,000 block of South Charleston Clifton Road, and 61-year-old Lolitha Hall, who lived in Columbus. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On March 25, 2024, at 11:18 a.m., William Brock called 911 and told the police that he had shot someone who was trying to rob him. When the police arrived at William's house, they found that he had minor injuries to his head and ear, and Lolitha Hall had sustained multiple gunshot wounds. After being transported to Dayton Hospital, Lolitha died from her injuries. Here is what the police found during the course of their investigation. William claimed that he had received multiple calls from a scammer pretending to be an officer. This scammer indicated that William had a nephew who was in jail and demanded $12,000 to release him. As the calls continued, the officer's story changed from a posting bond situation to a ransom demand, as if the officer had taken the nephew hostage. William said that the scammer also threatened to murder him and his family if he did not pay the money. The scammer arranged to send an Uber driver to William's house to pick up the ransom. This driver was Lolitha Hall. Her Acura SUV was equipped with a dash cam, which captured part of the incident. When Lolitha arrived at William's house, she waited for a while before walking to his front door. She did not know anything about the scam, only that she was directed to pick up a package. William made contact with Lolitha and produced an 8-shot 22 caliber revolver. He pointed the revolver at her and demanded that she tell him who made the threatening calls he had received. Lolitha retreated to the driver's side of her vehicle as William followed her. She told him to stop, or she would call 911. When William told her that she was not leaving, Lolitha replied with the word, "Bye." William said, "No, you're not. You're not leaving and going home." He repeatedly demanded her phone as Lolitha yelled, "Stop," and "Help." At this point, William shot Lolitha one time in the leg. Even in this wounded state, Lolitha continued her effort to escape. William chased her around the front of her vehicle again. Lolitha told him that she was there to pick up a package. William responded, "Yeah, I know what you're after." During a scuffle at the door of Lolitha's vehicle, William said, "I'll shoot you in the head next time." Lolitha cried, "Don't do that. Please don't. I'm sorry. Please don't." William asked, "Who do you work for?" Lolitha responded, "Uber. It's right up there. You can see it. You can see it. You can look, sir. Please, just look." Presumably, she was pointing to something in her vehicle which indicated her association with Uber. William said, "I'll shoot you. Give me that phone." Lolitha replied, "No, please don't shoot me anymore." After saying the word please 5 more times, she said, "Let's talk." At this point, William shot her 2 more times and called 911. William Brock was charged with murder, 2 counts of felony murder, felonious assault, and kidnapping. He was released from jail after posting a $200,000 bond. If convicted, William is facing a serious penalty. In the state of Ohio, murder carries a mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years in prison and a maximum of life in prison. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. It appears as though William was telling the truth about interacting with a scammer. In William's house, the police found an envelope with an Ohio court case number written on it. The envelope contained $12,050 in cash. William had written down the name Lolitha and a description of her Acura SUV. While in William's house, a detective spoke to the scammer on the phone. The scammer identified himself as the officer and said, "You are going to be in trouble." When the detective pressed for more information, the scammer ended the call. The police said that the scammer's phone number was through Bell Mobility in Canada. The scammer's phone is almost certainly a burner phone. Item number 2. The scammer involved in this case appeared to be unsophisticated and disorganized. He went from pretending to be an officer who was trying to collect bail to being an officer who was holding an inmate hostage. A lot of bad things can happen to inmates in jail, but they don't usually get kidnapped by correctional officers. Low kidnapping risk is one of the few benefits of being an inmate. It appeared as though the scammer was just trying to scare William in any possible way he could. He used different names and narratives in a desperate effort to extort money. Item number 3. Was William Brock guilty of murder? Let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that he was guilty, starting with the inculpatory factors. William confronted Lolitha with a revolver when he could have remained in the safety of his house and called 911. The hammer of the revolver was cocked and his finger was on the trigger. These are reckless behaviors under the circumstances. After Lolitha was confronted, she retreated to her vehicle, repeatedly cried for help, threatened to call 911, told William to stop, and identified herself as an Uber driver. She was unarmed and did not represent a threat. Despite this, William pursued her, took away her cell phone, and shot her 3 times. Only after this did William call 911. At no time was William in any actual danger. Moving to the exculpatory factors, William had a reason to believe that Lolitha was in a conspiracy with a scammer who had threatened to kill him and his family. William told the police that he shot Lolitha because he was fearful that she was attempting to access a weapon. Based on William's discussions with the 911 operator and with the police, his cognitive reasoning abilities did not appear to be extremely sharp. Maybe he truly believed that he was under threat. When considering the evidence in this case, do I believe William Brock is guilty of murder? Yes, I believe he is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. William had every opportunity to remain safe, yet did not take any of them. He was the aggressor the entire time. Lolitha was desperately trying to escape and was screaming for help. William did have a reason to be concerned, and maybe even fearful, but he was not justified in using deadly force. Item number 4. The scammer in this case set events in motion, which led to the death of Lolitha, a person who was completely innocent. She was a victim of both the scammer and of William. The scammer also victimized William. He would not have killed anyone but for the scammer's behavior. Many people want the scammer to be arrested and charged with felony murder. The felony murder rule is a legal doctrine that holds a person responsible for murder if someone died while the person was committing a felony. For example, a getaway driver in an armed robbery can be charged with felony murder if his accomplice shot and killed a store clerk. This is true even if the driver didn't believe his accomplice was planning on killing anyone, because robbery is inherently dangerous. As far as charging the scammer with felony murder, the key question would be, did they commit a qualifying underlying felony? In the state of Ohio, an underlying felony under the felony murder rule must be an offense of violence, inherently dangerous, and committed with a reckless disregard for human life. The law requires a first or second-degree felony, so crimes like kidnapping, robbery, burglary, arson, and terrorism would qualify. It seems clear that the scammer threatened to kill William, but in Ohio, threatening is typically charged as a misdemeanor. Therefore, that charge would not work for felony murder. As far as offering the best chance of convicting the scammer of felony murder, robbery would be the charge to go with, because the scammer allegedly demanded money under the threat of force. In the state of Ohio, a person commits robbery during a theft if they use a weapon, inflict or attempt to inflict physical harm, or threaten the immediate use of force. The last condition appears to match what the scammer allegedly did. He threatened to kill William and his family. This is where things get a bit tricky as far as the felony murder rule in Ohio. If a person uses a weapon or inflicts or attempts to inflict harm, the robbery is charged as a second-degree felony. This qualifies under the felony murder rule, so this would be a valid underlying felony. If a person only threatens the immediate use of force, the robbery is charged as a third-degree felony. This would not qualify as an underlying felony for the felony murder rule. Technically, it sounds like the scammer is not eligible to be charged with felony murder. They can certainly be charged with other offenses, and I think they should go to prison, but they probably will not be going there for murder. Moving to item number 5, what do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. William Brock was targeted by a scammer and initially believed everything he said. This led to an intense feeling of fear. As the phone calls continued, he realized that he was dealing with a scammer, and his fear turned to anger. William wanted a definitive, brutal, favorable, and fast resolution to the situation. A strong desire for revenge was present. Unfortunately, William did not have good critical thinking skills. He may have figured out that he was being scammed, but it never occurred to him that the scammer would involve another innocent person, like an Uber driver. William was positive that Lolita was the scammer's conspirator. He made up his mind that he was not going to let her escape. She was the key to solving the mystery and getting revenge. William did not necessarily want to kill her, but he was willing to. There was no way that she was going to leave without giving William the information he wanted. Lolita could not do this because she was not part of the scam. Now moving to my final thoughts. Scammers often target people who are more likely to have cognitive reasoning deficits. This is a key part of how they get away with fraud and extortion. In this case, the same characteristics that made William an optimal target made him hazardous to the scammer's unwitting accomplice. William could have avoided this entire disaster by not answering the phone when the scammer called, or by calling 911. The scammer may have lit the match, but it was William who dumped barrels of fuel on the fire. Those are my thoughts in the case of William Brock. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.